I make sure that they understand these are development deals. If you're looking for immediate cash flow, we're not for you. These projects takes about a year to build out and then another 2 years to build, to lease up to profitability before we can do distributions. We are looking right now at doing some, we've had enough investors talking to us about immediate cash flow.
Are you one of the many busy professionals working in offices day in and day out? Do you wonder how some people grow their wealth fast, retire early, and play on workdays? Well, you're in luck, because Ginny Bolling hosts this show, Pivot to Prosperity, where she interviews people that can do just that, play on workdays. Many guests have become financially free. She also interviews people that are on their journey and people that are in support roles, like attorneys, contractors, brokers, and others. Commercial real estate is the common element. She is on a mission to be sure busy professionals know they can own substantial commercial properties too, like apartments, self-storage facilities, and others, and not have to do the work managing them. Passive investing is the key. Syndications are the typical method. Tax write-offs are some of the biggest rewards. Ginny and partners find the deals, build a strong team and business plan, then offer the investment opportunities to passive investors. New episodes are released every Tuesday at 12, so watch for new releases. If you want to get involved, let us know. You need to get pre-qualified to hear about most deals. See the show notes for contact information.
Hello, hello. Ginny Bolling here with Pivot to Prosperity, brought to you by Pivotal Real Estate Investments, where we help investors build wealth and income through commercial real estate that also improves communities. And today we have Neil Henderson with us. Thank you for coming, Neil.
Thank you for having me, Jenny. It's my
I
pleasure.
love your background. I meant to tell you that we've been chatting a little first
Yeah.
here. And yes, Neil has a very interesting background, and he is a partner in the storage facility or in the company called Nomad Capital. And so why don't you take it away, Neil, and tell us about what you all are doing.
Yeah. So Nomad Capital, we're based in Wilmington, North Carolina. We're a self-storage development syndication firm. We have done all kinds of self-storage ground up, operational turnaround, expansion, but what we really love are conversions. We take a lot of old vacant retail spaces, big box store mills, old grocery stores, and we convert them into climate-controlled self-storage across the Southeast.
Oh, you just said an interesting thing. Mills too. Do you try to retain any of the architectural features or?
We do. We do. We did two hosiery mills, one in Kernersville, North Carolina, and one in Burlington, North Carolina. And both all had old brick facade. We kept all the brick facade, and we haven't done any like big old mills that have the big old smokestacks or anything like that. These are smaller mills. So
Interesting. All right. All right. And so do you want to talk about how you came up with the name Nomad?
sure, I can't take credit for it. It's from my partners, Eric and Levi Hemingway. The Hemingways, very famously, if anybody's ever met them, they know this story. Eric built his first self-storage facility from the ground up in 2008. He was a builder. Obviously, the Great Recession hit, the building boom sort of died off, and he made a pivot and bought a 35-foot sailing catamaran in Greece, sight unseen, took his family of his wife and 5 kids and sailed around the Mediterranean for 3.5 years, had their sixth child in Israel, ended up sailing across the Atlantic, made landfall in Wilmington, North Carolina. And the idea for Nomad is a nomad goes where they want, when they want, with who they want, and especially when it's paid for by a portfolio of cash flowing commercial real estate. That's where that came from.
That's terrific. That's terrific. And so your takeaway, what you want people to take away from this interview, what would that be?
Yeah, again, I mean, use pivot. Don't be afraid to pivot. I had almost a 20-year career as a defense contractor in Nevada. It was a fantastic career for most of that. Probably the last 5 years of it, I was pretty burned out and really ready to do something else. And I allowed fear to stop me from taking the leap into essentially an entrepreneurial role. And I finally had a trusted advisor tell me, he's like, what are you afraid of? What if you're constantly telling me what could go wrong? Well, what could go right? And I think that's oftentimes what people do is they focus too much on what could go wrong instead of what could go right.
So true. And as we know, being in this industry, mindset is a big thing. And that's part and parcel of what you're saying. And sometimes we just have to realize there is a lot of abundance out there, and if you want some, you need to take some steps to get it.
And the hard parts that you may be facing will actually maybe be a little bit more fulfilling than the easy, cushy parts that you're living with right now.
Right. Well, so tell me about some of those conversions that you all have done. They've got to be challenging. Tell me a good story. One of the ones that you've really had a lot of interesting things come up with, maybe.
Oh, let's see. We had in Kernersville, North Carolina, we converted an old hosiery mill and warehouse. At the front of it, it has 10,000 square foot antique mall. And that was it was a not a very it wasn't a big box. It was a lot of boxes that had been built. It was almost a 100-year-old building. It was really cut up, so we really had to be very creative on how we built things out. I'll be honest with you, the biggest challenge there, we most of the time we don't have problems with cities, but the city really put us through the ringer in Kernersville, especially on the exterior. They were very protective of how they wanted the building to look. They were very specific on the types of shrubberies that we put around the building, and but every building with a conversion presents its own challenges. Oftentimes, I would say, and I'm not our construction team. We have a rock star construction team right on the other side of this wall where I'm pointing. Um, but one of the biggest challenges we often face is in fire protection. A lot of times, these old buildings have really outdated old fire protection. Sometimes we have to revamp it. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes when we revamp it, um, we discover that the main water line that comes into the building is not sufficient to do that. And had a project in Macon, Georgia, that we had to dig up the water line and basically repair, basically increase the size of it from the main out by the road. And we've got the same issue in Florence, South Carolina, where we put in the new fire protection system and discovered that the existing water line was not going to be able to handle it, and then had to go in and, now you got to dig up the road, and which is a whole, got to contact the South Carolina Department of Transportation, and it gets complicated. But
Sure does. But
envision,
even when you get into the building, are you having to locate the lines under the concrete and go down into
no,
the?
usually, no, it's usually with fire protection. It's usually in the ceiling. That's the
Okay.
easy part, and that's the nice thing. And usually our buildings, they don't need a lot of plumbing. So a lot of times we're capping off some of the old plumbing that we don't need.
Oh,
You
that's
just
good.
need, you just need a bathroom. So
Yeah. All right, but as we know, they have like most manufacturing places, and I know we've talked already before recording on K-marts and some of those very high ceilings.
yeah.
The roof is the limit. And so how do you handle that?
Well, we love it if we have a really high ceiling. I don't know the exact, I think it's 19. You got to have 19 feet at least in order to build a mezzanine where you can actually put in 2 stories. In our recent facility in Goldsboro, North Carolina, it was an old Safeway that then became a furniture mart. And then we're converting it to storage. It had very high ceilings. And so I think a 40,000 square foot building footprint. But because we're going to be able to put in a mezzanine, we're going to be able to get 60,000 square feet of storage out of it. So we really love it if we can do it. This will be our first time doing it. So it's a new challenge for us, but we're excited about it.
So when you say mezzanine, in my mind, I figure partial second floor. Have you ever done a whole second floor?
No, mezzanine. When I say mezzanine, that's our terminology. It's a second floor. Where
Oh,
it's a whole second floor. We're adding a freight elevator in the building and all that. So it's a second floor. It's not like a overlooking a big open area.
gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that really changes things because I was going to ask you if you don't do that, what do you do about the top of the storage area? Do you have a top or does it just kind of go up and up and up?
That's a great question, Jenny. Typically, what we'll do is we'll just put the doors and hallways, we call them, for storage, which are equipment. You'll install those, and usually they don't have a roof on them. They'll just put sort of a really heavy duty chicken wire on top of it that you can't, it's not easy to get through without really working at it. Because then the lighting, we've got LED lighting that just hangs down. Because what happens if you stick light bulb, a roof on a storage unit, it's going to be very dark. But if you have lighting up above, it's lit up. It's all show motion controlled, so it's not, we'll have some that's on all the time, but most of it's motion activated, so it lowers the electricity costs. But the big thing is that if you have an electrical outlet in the unit, you inevitably get people trying to live in it. It just happens again and again. People will unscrew the light bulb, they'll screw in an adapter that has a plug, and you'll invariably have people living in them. So a lot of times it's, sort of engineering to prevent that.
Right. Yep. I get it. Yeah. I've been in several storage facilities where there was people living there.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, but people do it.
Yes. Well, so your typical, say a 30, were you saying 30,000 square feet is not uncommon?
We're typically targeting probably a 60,000 square foot building to 120,000 square feet. We have one project right now that's a little unusual. It's a 171,000 square foot retail strip mall that had an old vacant K-mart in it. We tried to buy just that and convert it to storage. The owner didn't want us to do that. And then we said, well, what if we bought the whole thing? And he said yes. And we got a good deal on the whole strip mall. And so we're going to upfit the whole retail strip center and then convert the old Kmart to storage.
Well, and I love, we were already talking as well too, that you own one that, I don't know if it was that one, but create an out parcel since there's so much parking. I think that's wonderful to do that kind of thing. And
Yeah, the question we often get is, well, can you turn that unused parking into boat and RV parking? And the reality is that most of the time we're in kind of a retail corridor, and it would not look great having boat and RV storage there. But oftentimes we don't need all that parking. And we have recently on our Goldsboro project, we carved off a out parcel, and we have a fast food chain that's going to do a 50-year ground lease from us, which is
terrific.
was and that was not included in our original projection. So that's just found money. But we always are looking for opportunities to do that.
Well, and as you say that, I'm thinking about how, a lot of times the cities and counties will consider outside storage if you have a beautiful fence that usually costs way too much. It's usually a wall, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the new materials out there are amazing, not only light, but sturdy with that graphene stuff in there.
Yeah.
I wonder if that might become a new option for you. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Some
outside my
beautiful stuff.
yeah, that's outside my realm of expertise, Jenny. That'd be more of our construction guys.
Like I say, I'm full of ideas. But
Yeah, yeah.
anyway, so yeah, the typical syndication you do then. Talk to us about what you're doing. Are they 506Bs or Cs? And
Yeah, we have in the past, when we started off, most of our initials were 506B. We just had a lot of people that we knew personally, and we were able to get a lot of our early capital came in that way. Once we went to a fund model, we started it off 506B and then converted it to C. So we were able to advertise. And then most recently, we did our most recent project, same thing, started off 506B, converted to 506C. And that was probably our last one that we're going to do. It's just becomes, it's kind of a timing headache. We love our 506B investors, but the challenge for us is we have to raise the capital so fast, and we have tapped out a lot of our friends and family that
yeah,
we know, they're already invested with us. And so, it's tough to kind of get them in fast and then so we can advertise. And the problem when you advertise, um, as a syndication is it takes time to build that trust. It's not like you're going to turn on your meta ads and someone's going to click on your ad and invest with you within a week. That that's happened maybe once or twice. You're going to build a relationship with that person, and it's going to take, 3 months usually minimum before that person is going to be willing to invest with you. And we have to raise, we got to raise this money in a month. So going forward, we're probably going to just stick to 506C and just continue to just raise. Um, and
Right.
we're so and we've typically done equity positions. $50,000 minimum for a Class B share, $250,000 minimum for a Class A, and then we've usually had a Class A plus at 1 million. And it's usually we have to tell people, one of the conversations I have every day with investors is I make sure that they understand these are development deals. If you're looking for immediate cash flow, we're not for you. Um, these projects takes about a year to build out and then another 2 years to build, to lease up to profitability before we can do distributions. We are looking right now at doing some. We've had enough investors talking to us about immediate cash flow. We're going to start doing an offering as sort of a debt product, where there's no upside, but they can get immediate cash flow and sort of come in on the debt side. So, but we don't have,
Yeah, the industry's evolving. I think a lot of people are
yeah.
doing that because that's when people want that cash flow. And
And I think a lot of people, during the heyday of multifamily syndication, they were getting that cash flow with upside. And then the party kind of came to an end, and suddenly they're not getting cash flow, they're not getting distributions, and now they're getting capital calls on top of that, which has been a real challenge. And so a lot of people are kind of burned by equity right now. And so we think that maybe there's an option for, listen, you want cash flow, we can give you cash flow, but we probably can't give you the upside. So
well, the way I see it and talk to a lot of people, I'm not alone on this, but this is the correction I think that we needed because so many people piled into syndications over the last 5, 7 years. Once they learned about how powerful it is, we got a lot of people that really didn't understand real estate. And they
yeah,
had projections that weren't very realistic for rent growth.
yep,
And so they did the floating rate. And then
yep,
even the best of the best, though, never guessed that we'd have interest rates go so high so fast for so long.
yeah. I know some very, very good multifamily operators who've been really hit hard, and they're having some tough times right now. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got some investments with some of them that are challenging right now.
Yeah, it is. Especially when, like we were talking to, the housing market slows down. That gives you a lot of your demand too. Would say that it's not just the interest rates there. I firmly believe a big part of it is the change in the commission structure. And
Really interesting.
yeah, I don't know if you realize, but now buyers are supposed to be ready to pay a commission. It's not always the seller anymore.
Oh,
So
that's right.
that's
Yeah.
a lot more potential money to come up with. So all depends on how well the the brokers are handling it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I hope that we're rounding the corner, but it's hard to know until you're looking back, right? But many people feel like we're at the bottom or bottoming out, and so it's a really good time to be looking, decide if it's for you, get to know the operators you like,
Yeah.
and decide if you're going to dip your toe in or leap in or whatever.
Yeah, it's hard to, we often, Warren Buffett says you don't know who's skinny dipping until the tide goes out. And a lot of people we've discovered we're skinny dipping. And now I feel like the tide's coming back in. But it's not there yet. And it's tough for people to make that leap right now when there's blood on the streets, is what it appears. So a lot of it is, we're the operators, we're working in this every day, and we're telling people, look, we're seeing the tide change, but it's tough to convince people who don't live in this every day you know, that hey, good times are coming. Now's probably the time to start looking again.
Well, and given my background, I'm ultra conservative. Like I said, I was an appraiser in the 80s, so the savings and loan crisis and
Oh
all
yeah.
that. So I
You've seen some corrections.
I have seen some corrections and I've been doing some filing lately and I was looking at all my market reports and then I was realizing that some of those predictions in 2022 and 23 that had it right, those guys I'm going to listen to a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And And there were people out there saying it, and I need to see a good amount for me to really buy in. And I am pretty dang convinced that we're pulling out of it. There's going to be some more foreclosures and givebacks and modifications and all that.
Yeah,
Hopefully, we're getting in time to getting in. Well, hopefully, we are now able to get in on some of those deals.
yeah,
I not only look to be a GP on some, but I'm also with a group where we're fund managers that are bringing our own investors to deals. So I'm not always the operator kind of thing,
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's a good time for people to be looking. And and it sounds like you have some things cooking. So
yep.
um, let me have you say your takeaway again, and then we'll go on to the pivot question.
Yeah, I'll say it again. Don't be afraid to pivot. Oftentimes people are too focused on what the worst could happen and not focused enough on the good stuff that could happen with making a pivot. I spent, 18 years working in a defense contracting job, the last five of which I probably didn't really want to be there. And it was a good mentor of mine that said, "What are you waiting for? You're so focused on the bad stuff that can happen, but think about all the good stuff could happen." So,
So true, so true. So, and that might step right into the next one here. I always ask everybody, is there a pivotal person or event that brought you to where you are today or is pushing you towards some particular goal?
yeah, this is a really easy one. I met my partner Eric Hemingway in February of 2017 at the best ever real estate conference, a big multifamily syndication conference in Denver, Colorado. A conference I had no business being at, given the level of my real estate experience at the time. But literally sat down at a lunch buffet table with him and his daughter, Maggie, and listened to him tell the story about how he had built a self-storage facility from the ground up and then gone and gotten on a sailboat for 3.5 years. And I immediately said, "Oh, I need to get to know this man." Now, it was a much more complicated story than that, not nearly as smooth sailing, pun intended. But that moment, it was a moment that changed the course of my life. And I became friends with Eric. We, danced around each other for years and years. We mentored each other. He was doing self-storage on his own, but just as a just his own operator, single operator, not really syndicating or investors. I had started raising capital and I kept on having, all right, dude, you really want to grow, you got to start doing syndication. And he very wisely was like, no, I'm not ready yet. I want to build up a portfolio that can handle if we make a mistake with investors' money. And I think he was smart to do that. And so it took from 2017 until November of 21 before we really partnered up and Nomad came to fruition. But
Yeah, that is a while. And that's the thing we know, but maybe our listeners don't, that we do see each other at these conferences and watch and listen and talk to each other. And there is a lot of, at least for the people that are on the conservative side, a lot of the dance that has to go on to really, see people under different situations and whatnot. So that's really interesting. And so now, how many people do you all have?
how many employees? We have 16 here in Wilmington, all under this roof. We have three companies under this roof. There's Nomad Capital, which finds the buildings in the capital, and then we have Elm Builders, which is our internal construction company that does the build outs, and then we have City Storage Management, which is our asset management company that manages the self storage facilities, and then we have probably another 14 who are the managers for city storage that are spread out across our projects in the Southeast. So about 30.
So you are technically vertically integrated.
100, yeah, very vertically integrated.
So you can control costs, scheduling, the whole nine yards,
That's
right?
really, and you said it right there, the costs, and I'll even say this, more importantly, the costs is scheduling. If you're working with an outside contractor, a change order could put you out 3, 4 weeks. Whereas we literally, we can pivot on a dime in a couple of days. And it really,
You get some extra points. You use the word pivot again.
I'm not trying to do it, but I am. Yeah, the average self-storage facility from the ground up right now takes 2 years and 10 months from acquisition to certificate of occupancy. And during that whole time, you're going to be paying the interest on the loans. You're going to be burning through your interest only period and all that. And if you have investors, you may be burning a pref. Whereas our projects were usually acquisition to CO is about 12 to 14 months on average.
And
So
that's because you're doing the adaptive reuse.
that's a big part of it. We don't have to go through a big permitting and entitlement process. We don't have to put in the infrastructure there. We don't have to grade the land. The building's already there. So it's a big one.
So, yeah, no, I can understand. A little trick that we've done, I shouldn't call it a trick, but that might help you sometimes as you're looking at some of these cities that are ultra conservative or where you really want that asset though. We've had when working for the DOT, sometimes the cities and the DOT would hate each other. So as a project manager, I would propose, for instance, that we address the situation with a city by proposing a resolution. Do they want this? And if
Mm,
they do, then they will do this, which might mean expediting permits. It
mhm.
might mean having a point person. It might, but whatever, it's known to the public. They support that project.
Yep.
And it's kind of a neat little trick that can work sometimes, especially if you've got the political side of it on your backing you. But
Yeah. We
very cool.
um we've generally not had problems with cities. We just lost a project that we really wanted. It's a Kmart in North Charleston, South Carolina. Great location. We got a good price on it. It had been vacant for years, and we were allowed to do self-storage by right. But when we sat down with the city, they said, "Yeah, y'all allowed to do self-storage there, but that's really not the long-term vision that we have for that building." And we talked to our attorneys, and they said that was code for we're going to make your life miserable. And so we'd rather not fight against the city. We'd rather work with them, especially when we've got investor capital at risk. We're not going to do that.
Yeah, big deal. It is a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, good. All right. Well, so you get to tell Eric about the deal. If he comes on the show, we promote him and we give him a lapel pin even that says pivotal
Well,
person.
I'll do that. It might be tough to get him. He's January 7th, he and his 16-year-old son, which is his last child at home, are buying a one-way ticket to New Zealand. And he's going to go on an extended like a 3 month sabbatical. So he lost his wife to cancer last year, so he's taken some well-earned rest.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that. Yes. Well, yeah, whatever
But
he wants to
I'll
do.
absolutely tell him and
Yeah.
I'll encourage him to come on. He might have to do it from New Zealand. Who knows? So,
And that would be fine, but if he wants to later, that's fine too.
okay, we'll
But
do.
yeah, it's a standing invitation since now you've nominated
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Very good. Well, so tell people how they can reach you. We'll put it in
Uh,
the show notes as well too, but go ahead and spell it out.
yeah. Well, if you want to hear me talk more, I've got a podcast called Truly Passive Income. But if you want to reach out to me, nomadcapital.us is our website. And if you want to email me directly, if you're not shy, and please don't be shy, reach out to me for any reason. Even if you just want to learn more about self-storage, Neil, Neil at nomadcapital.us.
Very good. Like I say, I'll put that in the show notes too. And
Great.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. And we'll have to stay in touch.
Thanks for having me, Jenny. It's been a pleasure.